He's already here.
It's still 30 seconds.
No, oh, yeah, no, I'm not gonna give you an extra minute. What are you, crazy?
You're already here. Sure. Oh, you're right. And you have.
I've answered emails. Technically have the day. We went down and had. And more or less, he could, we can drop it today. That's she.
I'm broke off.
She wants her.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
of
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is the agenda. Quick comment. The school board endorses the concept of community participation in affairs of the school. It is essential to improve the quality of education for its students. To be eligible to address the board, an individual should reside within the school unit, be an employee of the school unit, or be invited by the board or superintendent to speak. The board shall give due attention to comments and contributions from the audience, but shall not be expected to respond or take action immediately. Audience inquiries other than simple questions shall be referred to the superintendent, who shall investigate or consider the matter and report to the citizens and to the board. If the board action is indicated, the item may be included in an agenda for the subsequent meeting. Comments will be heard for no longer than 3 minutes per person. Thank you. Any public comment? I see some from Sandra Sullivan.
Thank you. Sandra Sullivan, 104 Sunset Drive. Unfortunately, I did get a phone call during the budget meeting, and so I missed part of it, and I'm not sure if you talked about this or not. With the talk of all the federal money being frozen, have we gotten our allotment for this calendar year? And how do you expect that this is going to affect even you trying to do a budget for the next calendar year? Thank you.
That's a great question, Sandra. And believe it or not, we did talk about that while you were on your phone call, evidently. So new information, Kevin Gregory actually asked that question. So from what we understand at the moment, the federal funds have been up and down a little bit. We talked about the fact that Gear Up was on one day and off the next. Our ELO was on one day and off the next, and those are federal grants. Our local entitlement, which is special education, I haven't really heard anything about that. That seems to have just stayed the same, stayed neutral. Title money, we haven't heard any impact from. They're telling us that the federal DOE is not going to have an impact on the title money. And I read to everybody earlier that we got our Title V information today. So for the ADA, we're getting $433. For Title IIA, we're getting $47,067. And for Title IVA, we're getting $28,375. So those are new numbers that just came out today. So at the moment, there is nothing negatively impacting us as far as an awards from the federal level. Good question.
Thank you very much. And I apologize that you had to repeat it because of my phone call.
Not a problem. Glad you asked.
Any other public comment? Seeing none. Approval of minutes.
I approve the minutes of the school board meeting January 14th, 2025, barring any errors or omissions. Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, we can vote. All in favor? 5-1. Payroll warrant?
I move to direct the superintendent of schools to authorize payment by the town treasurer, to each party listed herein, the sum set against each name contained in school payroll warrant 25-16 in the amount of $139,020.76, and PR 25-16D in the amount of $37,213.40 on January 30th, 2025, and PR 25-17 in the amount of $147,897.04, and PR 25-17D in the amount of $76,858.44 on February 13th, 2025.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? By roll.
Like to move to direct the superintendent of schools to authorize payment by the town treasurer to each party listed herein, the sum set against each name contained in school payable warrant AP 25-24 in the amount of $99,891.28. SA 25-17 in the amount of $7,210.60. Student accounts. SA 25-18 in the amount of $6,300 group student accounts, and SA 25-19 in the amount of $4,000 student accounts on January 30th, 2025. And AP 25-25 in the amount of $108,609.31. SA 25-20 in the amount of $734.78 student accounts. SA 25-21 in the amount of $6,290.20 student accounts, and SA 25-22 in the amount of $1,000 student accounts on February 13th, 2025.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? By roll. Motion to adopt the policy?
Motion to see if the board will approve the adoption of the following new policies: EI, insurance program / risk management; GAB, job descriptions; GBGE-R, return to work and reasonable accommodations, administrative procedure.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor? By roll. Adoption of revised policies?
Motion to see if the board will approve the adoption of the following revised policies. GBB, staff involvement in decision-making; GBCC, employee use of cell phones and other electronic communication devices, formerly coded as GBEBC; GBEB, staff conduct with students; and GCG, substitute and tutor pay.
Seconded.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion to see if the board will approve the superintendent's nomination and authorize the superintendent to hire a high school math teacher.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's nomination and authorize the superintendent to hire Mercedes Brzezowski,
Personowski.
close enough, as a high school math teacher with a bachelor's step 0, start date January 13, 2025, prorated to 95 days, $23,275.
Second.
Thank you, Julie.
Any discussion?
I'd like to say that Mercedes has come on and really stepped up to the plate to learn what it's like to be on the teaching side of things instead of the learning side of things. She's graduated of Stearns. She made the commitment to get here and to give it a try, and she's doing a really good job. She's a pleasure to have.
All in favor? Motion to see if the board will approve superintendent's nomination and authorize superintendent to hire an occupational therapist.
I move to approve the superintendent's nomination of and authorize the superintendent to hire Kristen Stanley as the occupational therapist for the master's step 24, start date February 10th, 2025, prorated to 76 days at $25,369.56.
Second.
Any discussion?
As you may recall, our occupational therapist went on to be a traveling OT. So through advertisement, we did have 2 candidates, and Kristen actually joined us yesterday. So we were able to welcome her, and she's a local gal. She lives on the Grindstone Road and has I think, 4-year-old. So somebody who hopefully will be with our system and grow as a family with us.
Any other discussion? All in favor? 5-0. Motion to see if the board will approve superintendent's nomination of and authorize the superintendent to hire a special education teacher.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the superintendent's nomination of and authorize the superintendent to hire Anthony Moffett as a special education teacher for a master's step 3, start date February 24th, 2025, prorated 71 days, $18,699.27.
Second.
Second. Julie.
Julie.
Or Drew.
Oh, sorry. Over here.
Any discussion?
As you may know, the teacher for life skills, Jen Jandro, is moving on to take a new position. She's got a lot of wonderful things going on. She's going to be working in a environment that she really truly exhibits the skill set to help students who need additional assistance with behavior. So while we're sad to see her and her 2 sons go, recently, I have not personally met Mr. Moffett, but it seems that his background may work very well with us. So he is here until the end of the school year to help us out with life skills.
All in favor? 5-0. Motion to approve the 2025-2026 calendar. Oh, I'm sorry.
So I'd like to just make a few comments about the calendar. Some things that you may or may not be aware of is that the calendar is actually a collaboration of all of the sending schools to Region 3. So the Department of Education, the commissioner, has to actually approve the region calendar, which is connected to our calendar. So there's quite a process in getting here. There's the regional level, the local level, which is just kind of around the table. And then the association as well has input. So there's multiple iterations. The admin group got together, took a look at start dates, new hire orientation, looked at what we would like to do for student-led conferences, what we want to do for professional development, knowing that early release days have an impact on our families, particularly those who have young children and have to look at childcare. So what looks like something simple, because a calendar is a calendar, right? We don't really change the days. We know that there's a certain amount of days that we're required by law to be present in school, to have kids present in school. But once all of those things are in here, there still are a few nuances. When do we want parent teacher conferences? When do we want a day or 2 before Christmas? All of those things. So that said, the calendar had the Region 3 level of information, the admin team level of information, the association's input, and then we get to what you have in front of you. So it's a collaboration, a little bit of give, a little bit of take, a little bit of let's try this. And I say let's try this because, as you know, last year, the year we're in right now, I was of the mindset of let's leave out some of the early release days and put them in when we have professional learning available, when we have somebody who has a particular skill that can share it with us. And that was a little uncomfortable for our families, not to know when would they need the extra childcare, when would they have their kiddos home. So this kind of, fixes that, as we've been doing that along the way. So there's a couple of new things in here, and there's a lot of, input in here. So that's it. Just, I guess I'm only saying all of that because it feels like a calendar should be easy. It's complicated.
All in favor? Student representative reports.
The senior class, we thought about what we want to do for our senior trip, and we decided that we want to go to the Boston Mall and spend the night and go to Six Flags for the day and come home. We're really hoping that this gets through and we get to go on this opportunity. The junior and senior classes are both gonna be involved in the Hoop Classic, which is gonna be the first weekend in March. Both the girls and boys basketball teams both celebrated senior night. Do you want me to read Maddie's too?
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
The PE classes have been using the ice skating room, and outdoor ed has been ice skating and cross-country skiing. And Miss Loom and Mr. Chronic chaperone an overnight ski trip to Hazelhead.
Nice. Thank you.
Administrative program reports, Dan, Martha?
No, Jan is on the other system. Hers is, I think, very readable. She pretty much does, her report in the same format each time. I would just, bring to your attention perhaps the professional development, January 29th. Because remember last time she was here, we had to, do some shifting around. So I think she's just showing you that that's getting done.
Okay, Jared Robbins, IT director?
Is that right here?
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, you see that?
So everybody has the administrative report. Just some growth happening. From the previous one, I did sell more Tab A devices. If you weren't completely aware of that, that's some old technology that I'm trying to get rid of. It's been sitting in the back of my office. And we found a lot of worth there, around $750 netted from that, just from signing up from staff, so. And I've been helping to reset them to actually make them usable, and people love them for Christmas presents, so that was a great idea, by Dr. Lane. We are moving forward with the Rust grant discussions. I think that's gonna be a great opportunity. The point right now we're at is getting potential partners and moving forward with that. Like I said, this is all very step by step. Another thing I want to add to this that is not on there, that just happened today, is Dr. Lane sent me it was called a Scam Weekly Update or something like that. It was very intuitive. And the IT director in Brewer actually sends that out to their school weekly, just how to look at scams in their email. And after getting that, I contacted the IT director, and I'm hopefully going to be able to collaborate with him to get something going on in Millinock School Park, because I think that's amazing. Help you navigate your email, as difficult as it may be sometimes. Any questions?
On the help for student volunteers, how many students have been helping?
So that's like pulling teeth, I'll be honest. I had to track one down and ask, but I have two. I have Jonah and I have a David. And they both done 1 hour. So it's yeah.
We're
It is
doing
a start.
5-minute intervals.
Yeah, right. So yeah,
Thank you, Jared.
of course.
What's a Tab A device?
Tab A device is it's a tablet,
Just a tab.
just a smaller tablet, it's a Samsung, very usable,
Gotcha.
mostly like an e-reader. Anything else?
Thank you.
Lovely.
Leah Shrek.
So for the food service department, we served 5,400 in breakfast and 5,954 lunches in the month of December. Together with the food service director from Katahdin Schools, we will be hosting a regional child nutrition training here at Stearns. With the Culinary Institute of Child Nutrition, they come all the way from Mississippi. They'll be sending 2 trainers. up to, do a 4-hour training on food safety basics and a 4-hour training on managing personalities and conflict. Yeah, it should be a good day. We have people coming from 9 districts in northern Maine, so from Newport to Port Kent. So the idea is to just really bring some high-level training to child nutrition professionals in our region, because most of them are held in the lower part of the state of Augusta.
Yay.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. As of today, we have 31 participants. So I'm pretty excited about it personally.
But
Yeah, we got some maintenance tasks taken care of at both schools. Louis' team was always incredibly helpful. I said it again. Well, I said it before and I'll say it again, like it saves us thousands of dollars having them being able to do like small repairs, thinking outside the box on some of our things, like our salad bar. Instead of buying an entire new sneeze guard, we're able to fix a hinge and then get a piece fabricated at Portland Glass. We didn't have to leave town for that, which is pretty fantastic. We've expended the last of our local foods for schools funds, those are federal funds, with another purchase of Maple Lane Farms chicken products. So the schools will be having those this week. Tomorrow it ran it into Thursday here, if the snow allows such things. We'll be moving on, that was 100% reimbursed, we'll be moving on to local foods funds, which is the state level funding, where we'll be reimbursed $1 for every 3 that we spend. And our plan right now is to spend it on eggs. So we were able to find a local vendor to provide us with eggs. The eggs we bought on Monday came from Smyrna, so it's pretty exciting. I had the pleasure of meeting with Mr. Letter's 8th grade class about their citizenship project geared towards improving our school lunches. We definitely have aligning goals there. We spoke about how nutrition programs are funded and the regulations that we operate under. We also talked about ways that they could make a difference in our school lunch program. So we talked about doing student surveys, creating a nutritional advisory council, which I'll be reaching out to teachers to do right off, so they can help with menu development and such things. So student voice is always really important. And we finished up our first round of staff evaluations for the departments. Nothing there. Fairly painless, which is great. Anybody have any questions? Oh.
Thank you. Mr. Federico is not here,
Correct. His report is included for your reading.
and Ms. Casey.
Sorry. Unit expended FY 24 budget, we spent 48% so far used. We're 102 days into the student school year, so about 58%. As discussed in our budget meeting earlier, the Department of Education has released the preliminary 279s. You can find that on the Department of Education website if you're interested in getting that. And MEPRI was tasked this year with a legislative charge to kind of review where the state is within the school construction model and their funding. So they released a report, it's available on their website. It looks like this. And it's a riveting 20 pages of documentation. Basically, the survey of all the school districts and what the state can do to help assist schools with construction process and basically revamping maybe some of their funding model. So that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So going along with that, I also have that in my report to talk about, because I attended those meetings. And they're actually talking about the fact that the funding model that the state of Maine has used for construction is so old that they're talking about pulling it entirely out of the Department of Ed and having it be its own section, its own group. Because it's saying that superintendents, maintenance crews, principals are all looking at these multi-million-dollar projects
without a lot of understanding. Like, we don't know how you do footers or how you measure or what should go for siding or what windows need to look like, what your, roofing materials need to be. So they're saying that, because everything's so expensive now, they're saying that you can't leave these things to chance. People can't afford to have architects and, people do all of the design, so they're thinking about doing a whole group. They've spent a lot of time, I know that's 33 pages, but I've attended 2 lengthy Zooms where they're taking calls from people to get suggestions on how to make this better. Because they know, and you've heard me say this before, they know that the requests far outdo their ability to fill the request. So that we've got some aging schools or we have some needs and they just do not have the capacity. So I was gonna mention that too, but I.
One of the recommendations is that school construction staff is limited to hire more staff.
Yeah, oh, really? Yeah, yeah. So when Ron and I were both working for the state and running the unorganized territory schools, we had 11 schools at one point, and we hired, like BGS, the Bureau of General Services, they were our architects, and they were our electrical engineers. They were our specialty people for everything. So we just make appointments with them, go downstairs and say, hey, I need a furnace here. This is the size of my building. What do I do with it being, hot water, air push? So like, we learned a lot of things from the BGS folks, but they did all of this. So to me, what they've come to makes perfectly good sense, because it's what I was able to use all the years that I was helping to support those buildings. One group with all of the experts inside of it. So I think it's a great move personally.
Thank you. Joanne and Mary?
I'll have quite a lot in there, but most of it is, graphs and things to show you what the data looks like for the middle of the year for our students. And, you'll notice with the math, there's quite a bit of red, because what we found was in 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade with the IXL testing that we're using now, they only gave the students 3 minutes per question. And as you get into some of those more complicated questions, it takes more than 3 minutes to digest it. So at our training last week, we learned that we can reset it as a district, and so we are resetting it for 5 minutes. So we're hoping to see a difference in those scores, because a lot of kids got discouraged as they was taking it and couldn't finish some of the question. I also wanted to let you know that Rhonda and I were reviewing our ESSA funding with a consultant last week. And we discovered that over time, there had been a way that we could get a waiver to roll over money that wasn't spent. And that possibly may be going away. And so when they looked at our funding over the years and how that system worked and how Rhonda's been working to spend money from past years to keep up with it, we found that we have some money that we need to spend by the end of the year, so we don't lose funding. So we're gonna have some money there that we may be able to use to buy a new literacy program for our school. So I put together a committee that goes along with the literacy group that is working with me through the MDOE on some new training, and we're looking at programs to compare the cost and what we're learning in their PD to see if it matches that. We've had a lot of illnesses. This week, we've had more than 15% of our students absent due to illnesses, and that number's growing. So we've had to report that to ADPARS, had to report that to the CDC. So we're keeping an eye on that. I actually just got a text a little while ago. We've got more staff members out. So right now we're at 4 teachers and a couple of ed techs that with some of the title funding that you can use for technology, I've been able to purchase 26 iPads for kindergarten, and they should be coming next week.
I have a question about the schools. I saw something, front page of the newspaper. The last 2 or 3 days, schools are down to an average of 12 years or 14 years. The lowest it's been in 14 years for the scores. Our hours going up or are they staying the same?
Those are state assessments,
I
mean through the year.
think it's your, the testing that they take eighth graders and, I think that's what it is.
I don't know that I've seen any.
It was on the Bangor deal, front page.
Oh,
Oh, I'll have to look at it.
Yeah.
It's probably the main through the year, and actually, one of the things I was on the other day with assessments. NWEA is what we used to have, Maine revamped it with the company. And the company that I'm looking at for literacy has bought that company. And they may be changing the state testing
Okay.
again. So you only get like 2 or 3 years of data to compare, and then they change it. So it's really hard for us to keep track of that, but I know our numbers were increasing so that we got off the zip score,
Yeah.
but I will look at that article and see where we stand with that. Any other questions?
All right, well, we have, that's pretty.
Miss Phoebe is, at where Mr. Collins is, actually, Mr. Collins' girls team is playing against Southern Aroostook. They believe, I think they start at 5:30. This game, if they win, gets them into the playoffs, or not playoffs, but
Down
the
Bangor.
down to Bangor, whatever the first round of that is. So fingers crossed, our kids will be making it to Bangor. But anyway, Mr. Collins is there coaching on the floor, Miss Peavy is there, as AD. But she was disappointed, and I feel guilty even giving out this information because she wanted to personally share this great news. So here it goes, pretend I'm her, be excited. Stearns Junior Senior High, class of 2025, valedictorian is Olivia Hallett.
Yay.
Yay, Olivia Hallett. Salutatorian is, Brady Brooker. Yay, Brady. And main principal's award is also Brady Brooker. So he's gonna have to write a super long, really energetic, hilarious speech. I don't know if he's that kind of kid or not, but he'll be writing a speech. Miss Peavy was so excited to, share this information, and she said, I think I've always shared this, like for years. And I'm like, I'll do my best. She also wanted to, make note that this is, National Guidance Counselor Week. And she wanted to just put that out there that we all, should say thank you to, Sue Buzzle and Katie DeFrederico for all they do. Guidance counseling is like one thread, right? Because there's just, if there's something that needs doing, if there's somebody that needs listening to, or a kind shoulder, or any of those things, it is our guidance people. And she said she was hoping to say thank you. Maine County Teacher of the Year nominations, at a staff meeting, last week, we had a piece of cake and, thanked these gals. Mrs. Anna Loom, high school English, dual enrollment, high school outdoor educational, National Honor Society advisor, was nominated, by her peers. She actually had 2 people within our school system nominate her. So that was pretty awesome. And Mrs. Heather, Gerster, middle school math team, field hockey coach, curriculum coach, also was nominated. For her, it was the 2nd year in a row. So clearly we had, 2 wonderful, wonderfully experienced, enthusiastic, educators, and, we're very excited about that. I don't know if you, know, but the next step they get to decide, they get to participate in a Zoom call and see what the requirements are. It's very rigorous. Miss Peavy, when she was congratulating these gals, last week, was like, I don't understand how we nominate the people who work really hard, are very effective, and say, you can have this award and you have to work even harder and be even more. So, but we'll see, whatever they choose, clearly they deserve the nominations. So congratulations on all of those folks, adults and kiddos. Am I? All right. Couple of these things on mine, we've kind of already talked about at the budget meeting earlier. And actually Mrs. Sullivan's, question about what is happening with some of our funding. So as it seems, it does feel like our, state federal funds do seem like they're kind of leveled off. A little bit of this, hiccuping and up and down has leveled off a little bit. Somebody else has already mentioned that we've been talking about budgets. We do have,
negotiations, starting for, ed techs and food service. And that was supposed to be Thursday, but we moved it up till tomorrow, because of the weather. We anticipate that that's gonna, be great to support our educators. I wanted to just say a couple of things about a few other things. If you remember, we've had, 2 years ago, we had, got a grant for $500 for an ambassador, an ambassador of, of health. And so, Sandy Brooker and Katie Carr have attended the workshops and they've been using the money to support, healthy choices, healthy fun things for staff. So we did bingo. And it was things like drink 64 ounces of water, eat 5 servings of vegetable, eat a serving of fish. I did not qualify for that one. Include whole grains, you know, like a whole bunch of things here. So there was a winner at Granite and a winner at Stearns, and they're gonna do a couple more bingos. One will be like to get yourself moving, you know, like get up every hour and things like that. So I really appreciate the fact that they're modeling those behaviors and encouraging all of us. I was going to tell you about the governor's latest budget proposal, but again, we've kind of already talked about a lot of that. There's $156.6 million already obligated in her budget that will cover 55% of our local education costs. That is the number that has been in existence from the 60s. And they've actually been covering it for the last few years, so we're definitely appreciative to that. A couple other things that we've talked about is there's legislation going on right now to include personal finance as a graduation requirement. So like when I looked at this on February 3rd, I just kind of chuckled because we've already been talking about this. We've already been talking about the fact that our kids need some information on how to get a loan, what compounding interest looks like that a credit card is really not an awesome thing if you don't have means to pay it off. And then all of a sudden we see legislation to potentially make that a graduation requirement. So I'm actually very pleased with that. School construction, and we've already talked about. 279, we've already talked about. Steve Bailey, you may have heard his name as the executive director for Maine School Management. He has been in the system for a number of years, and he's been the director since 2014, and he is retiring on June 30th. So it's, yeah, so if that's a name that you're familiar with, he has offered a lot of calm and affirming and educationally driven information to Maine's school systems for a long time.
What am I gonna do with a workmanship seminar at the beginning of the year that I don't even need? I just like him. I don't even know.
He's a good guy.
I like him a lot. He's a good dude.
I wanted to also say that in the leadership staff meeting actually at Granite recently, when they left, they had an exit ticket. I don't know if you're familiar with a lot of classes start with like a question of the day and leave with a ticket. It's kind of a management tool to get people in and out. And one of their tickets had to do with our calendar. Remember earlier I talked about the fact that there's a lot of input. And so one of the pieces of input was around the calendar and wondering what our staff think about that. Should Granite and Stearns have a conference on the same day? 1, yes, 12, no, and 7, it didn't matter. Well, the part that matters is that it matters that we're wondering what our staff think and knowing that some of our staff are also our parents. What do you think about a spring conference? 16 people, 16 want 1 early release day instead of 2. 4 thought that they needed 2 early release days instead of 1. So I'm highlighting this so that you know that when we talk about asking folks, we try to ask a wide breadth of stakeholders. This was more deadline for our regional calendar, but we are all set with that. Miss Mary, Michelle McGinnis and the library, have we ever talked about that and the work that they're doing to support the library? Okay, so on January 14th, Miss McGinnis sent us an email. She works at Arc Katahdin, And so she, sent out to everybody, help us upgrade Granite Street Elementary School Library. At Granite Street Elementary School, we, believe in providing our students with the best resources to support their learning and creativity. This year, we have an exciting opportunity to enhance our library by updating two vital collections, our state books and our President's Series. And if you want information on this, she's looking for people to contribute so that we can get those two series into the Granite Street Library. We thank her very much for thinking of our school system, and because she's done that in the past with other initiatives as well through our Katahdin.
And, we contacted Mrs. Reese to find out what we needed, and that's how we came up with
Oh, okay.
those two collections.
Okay. Thank you. I also wanted to say that I did some classroom visits a week ago, and this was a middle school class, and they're reading a book, and the project is called Refugee Project. And the piece of literature I have not read before, but I just wanted to say how impressed I was with, look this piece of literature up. It has 3 timelines, so 3 groups of kids or families immigrating from different locations to different locations, so different timelines, significantly different timelines. And then they bring back some of the trials and tribulations and responses. And in the classroom, they were doing some group work, and there was a kiddo who didn't care or had their own opinion on some of this information and blurted out a comment. The teacher expertly turned the comment around to, tell me about that. Tell me about why you would think that. It was so well done that I wanted to mention that a week ago, a month ago, I had talked to you about the pedagogy and how a lot of research is showing that a lot of our staff don't have many choices or many items in their toolbox. And in one day, I saw a multiple choice science test where there was a challenging kiddo at the front and a challenging kiddo at the back. And a teacher who should have had a Fitbit on that day because she would have got a lot of steps. Clearly, and then there was one more, I had 3 that day. And again, it just, I had a minute. I was tired of the office, wanted to see kids, and so went to some classes. But when I talk about research showing that some of our teachers lack pedagogy, I say, go look at some of our classrooms because they're pretty good. I was really pleased. I was really pleased, actually. Let me see, what else? Have you heard enough? Abolishing the US Department of Education, we've already talked about that. I'll call it good.
All right. So our next thing is to move it.
I gotta ask one.
I'm sorry.
I might have missed it, but I don't know if anybody mentioned that Madison Carr, our junior class representative, is representing Stearns on the basketball courts. And
Oh, nice.
that's why she's not here.
Yeah, we can have that.
Good, thank you.
All right, see if the board will enter into executive session. We wanna move on.
Want to do the meetings first? Or we can do that, we have to come back.
We have to come back, yeah.
I need a motion.
I move to enter an executive session pursuant to 1 MRSA subsection 4056D.
Second.
All right. Any discussion on that? All in favor? You.
Yes.
We are recording. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I need a motion to revise Chelsea Fairhurst.
Motion to revise Chelsea Harris International Coordinator contract with 3-year contract, salary and benefits as negotiated.
I'll second. No, wait.
Thank you. Any discussion? Seeing none, vote. All in favor? All right. And motion to approve superintendent's appointment.
Move to approve the superintendent's appointment of Chelsea Guerra as extended learning opportunities coordinator, salary and benefits as negotiated.
One second.
Second by Kevin.
I know, use like a copier, but I didn't want to.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Five oh. Motion to approve a 3-year contract for Mia Charette. Anybody?
Motion to approve 3-year contract with Mia Charette, food service coordinator, salary and benefits as negotiated.
Second.
Kevin? Any discussion? Seeing none? Thank you. And I need a motion for the ITIN.
I move to approve a 1-year contract for Jared
Roberts.
Robbins, with an option, with salaries and benefits as negotiated with an option for a second and third year.
And Julie said.
Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor? 5-0. And that's it, the motion to adjourn.
You have the minutes. The upcoming
Yeah,
meetings.
that's right. Upcoming meetings, March 11th, 2025, April 8th, 2025, May 6th, 2025, and June 3rd, 2025.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. Okay. Yeah, you still last year, all those in favor?
Oh, you're-
All in favor? No discussion, 5-0.
All right.
All right. I
Thank
hate
you,
to
guys.
vote- I hate to
Everybody
vote
have-
and run, but I have another meeting.
Have a great
I hope you know. James, okay.
evening.
She is, she loves her. It's not anymore.
Thank
She's
you.
not, oh my God, I can't wait. And Jake, my husband, had to have, well, he had to have his dog interpreted when he was 9, because he was walking down a metal slide, you know, whatever, and he hit his face, so that's why his teeth are still, he's still only a month, he's kind of grown
You
in.
gotta turn it off.
But now he's.
Thank you, Sandra. Have a good night.
Like she was pretending, she's doing like herself.